Chapter 5.
I don't want to point to nothing but what's wrong, though, so I want to talk about how easy it can be for us to change things with one simple upshift in our collective consciousness.
It will be easy, remarkably easy. Yet you can't change things unless you know what it is you want to change. So some discussion of what's not going well can be very useful, allowing humanity to know where it may wish to make some improvements. This is especially true with people who hold a see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil mentality and don't normally look at these kinds of things.
Yes, but I can see apologists lining up right now to say, hey, wait a minute, we've made huge progress. They will say that we have to look at how far humanity has advanced, and they will be accurate, in asserting that things are not as bad as they used to be.
So what would you say to them?
I would say, but is that it? Is that the most we can say about our global experience? Things are not as bad as they used to be? Can we not at least say also that our species has finally become civilized? Then I'd invite them to be the judge, and I'd point out things that not many people know about, or think about, or want to think about.
Such as?
Such as the fact that over 1.5 billion people in this very moment don't have electricity in the 21st century. Such as the fact that a higher number, over 1.6 billion, don't even have access to clean water. Such as the fact that a huge number, a higher number still, over 2.5 billion people, don't have toilets. None of this may seem like very much to talk about. I mean, they could be just simply inconveniences, but these conditions have enormous implications. You know that more than 19,000 children die each day on this planet from preventable health issues, such as malaria, diarrhea, and pneumonia? And then there is this problem, which we could solve virtually overnight if we really wanted to. Over 650 children die on this planet every hour of starvation. Starvation. In the meantime, 85 of the world's richest people hold more wealth than 3.5 billion, that's half the world's population, combined. Now, many people insist that there's nothing wrong with this, that this is a statistic that has nothing to do with the earlier ones. So what I would say to those apologists is, what do you think? Is this a civilized species?
And what do you think their response would be?
Well, I've actually had this kind of a conversation, and many people become defensive, especially if they're among the smallest percentage of the world's population holding or controlling the largest percentage of the wealth and resources. They say that those who have are doing their best to get more to those who have not. And many of them, to be fair, if not most of them, have done their best. It's not the individuals who are the problem. It's the institutions of society. It's how the system is set up. It's the economic structures and constructions.
Yours is a young species, still trying to find its way.
Well, the result of that is that there are many people who describe our species as civilized in spite of the fact that we're still building and actually threatening the use of weapons of mass destructions in a global community that has found it impossible to create a way to simply get along. And I keep wondering, is this civilized? And there are many who describe our species as civilized in spite of the fact that we're still killing human beings intentionally as a means of teaching human beings that killing human beings intentionally is not okay. And we fail to see the contradiction. And I keep wondering, does this make sense? And there are many who describe our species as civilized in spite of the fact that we're still claiming that a loving God does not want people who cherish each other to marry each other if they are the same sex as each other, even if they are not of the same sex, but of different races or religions or tribes or cultures. And I keep wondering, is this our definition of love? And there are many who describe our species as civilized in spite of the fact that we're still brutally killing and eating the flesh of other living creatures, pretending that those creatures are not sufficiently self-aware to experience suffering in the way that they are raised and how they are slaughtered, or that it doesn't matter, even if they do experience suffering, because guess what? Humans have dominion over them, and we get to do with them as we want, when we want, how we want. And I keep wondering, is this how we define the human species as humane? There are many who describe our species as civilized in spite of the fact that we're still smoking and ingesting known carcinogens, ignoring how huge numbers of us are suffering from what we're doing to ourselves, and that we're still abusing alcohol and drugs, pretending that these are substances we can handle all the while that we're not handling them at all. But seeing that these things alter our very personality, in fact, the root of our being, and I keep wondering, is this the measure of our intelligence?
These conditions presenting themselves in such an unavoidably visible, dramatically obvious way are what make this the perfect time for advancement. 50 years ago, even 20 years ago, before the vast expansion of the internet and the explosively global reach of social media, those conditions existed with far fewer people noticing them.
I see what you mean. I see what you're saying. The time is right for humanity to really be able to do something about all of this now, because now everybody can know, everyone, not just a few people here and there in activist organizations or academic institutions or government offices, but everyone, all of us can be aware of what the problems are and how widespread they are. Can you imagine 1.6 billion people not even having access to clean water in the first quarter of the 21st century? On a planet whose inhabitants consider themselves to be evolved?
So you're seeing that you can't solve problems you don't know about, and that knowing about them and talking more and more about them is something you can celebrate, because it creates the perfect climate within which conditions are finally addressed and solutions can be created.
Exactly. Or to put this another way, necessity is the mother of invention. I hate to be so trite, but necessity is the mother of invention. You see, I have enormous hope that the human venture will become one of the most successful and joyous expressions of life in the cosmos. I'm clear that we are but one decision away from creating this.
And what is this one decision?
That'll have to wait till the next chapter.
Chapter 6.
I believe that we can change the global experience of our entire species by making the decision to open-mindedly, genuinely, and unrestrictedly explore, and then open-heartedly, joyously, and unreservedly accept the reality of who we really are.
Wonderfully put. And this will be an enormously impactful decision as it relates to your individual evolutionary process. Remember, what we're discussing here is not just changing world conditions, but changing the conditions in everyone's personal life and everyone's day-to-day experience. In fact, as noted before, this is where everything starts. This is where it begins. The third invitation is about how one's individual life is going, the way it is feeling, and what it is presenting as its next manifestation. You can be a transformed self if you accept the invitation to awaken the species, because it is just as I said at the outset. The fastest way to awaken the self is to awaken another. When you start focusing on this, you will realize that you already are awake, and this will make all the difference. It will change the way you think, the way you speak, the way you act, and the way you choose to be in every moment and situation. That, in turn, will affect both what is drawn to you in your life and how you experience whatever comes your way.
Now the only question is whether humanity will make that one decision. But I do believe it can be done. It's not a pipe dream. I mean, it's not completely out of reach, totally out of reach, and utterly out of the question.
It absolutely is not. It is, though, going to invite and require a major shift in individual and group consciousness, a quantum expansion of humanity's perspective and perception, a towering and joyful rise in awareness.
But to re-emphasize, it is possible, or you would not be saying that this is the perfect time for advancement.
Not only is it possible, it is happening now. You wouldn't be having this conversation, and no one would be following it, if such a shift in consciousness wasn't right now evident and occurring. The next step is for more and more humans to awaken.
I understand. I understand the third invitation. I totally get it now. And so does everyone else who's tracking this. I suspect there will be many people self-selecting to move their own personal evolution forward by humbly lending their energies to the awakening of the species in whatever small way they can through working on their own awakening.
And to help all of you accomplish this, you are invited to turn to higher aspects of the one reality of which you are an integral part.
Whoa, wait a minute, hold it. I was just totally getting everything you said here, and now you've lost me.
You are encouraged to notice that you are not alone as you face the challenges now confronting your species.
Yes, I know that nearly everybody on Earth is concerned about this. There aren't very many people on this planet who aren't worried about the future and trying each in their own way to do something about creating a better tomorrow. The challenge here is that we've tried so many things, and we haven't yet found the answer. We haven't yet, as I've said, found a way to simply get along. We can't even stop killing each other. We can't even find a way to do that.
So maybe it's time to get help from those who have found a way.
As I just said, practically everybody on Earth has tried and so far failed.
Then turn to those who are not on Earth.
I'm sorry?
Perhaps it's time to get help from those who are not on Earth, who know all about life on Earth but are not from Earth.